Okay, in this video I'm going to show how we can deposit a dataset on Zenodo, and we're going to go through GitHub. So first of all, I have here a folder with data, and this is data that was originally used for a publication that's already published, but we never deposited this on Zenodo. So this is the publication it belongs to, and you see it's published some years ago. And what I would like now is to have a deposition of the folder over here. So it's going to appear on Zenodo like we see here for other electronic notebooks. So if we look inside the folder here, we see that we have some simulation output here, and we have a notebook that plots the data, and that's the plots that appears in the appear in the paper. We also have another folder with some simple model, and here there's also a Jupyter notebook. So the way we're going to do this now is to, we're going to first deposit the data on GitHub. And I have a template here for supporting information, and this template will help us generate the required metadata that's used for Zenodo. So we see here there are a number of files, and this is a GitHub template, so we just click here, use this template. So this is going to generate a new repository based on this template. So create a template, and we have to come up with a name. So we can call it, and we can prefix that with supporting information, SI. And now I can use, we can call it electronic notebook. We can take the title here, for example, and simply just copy that in. And we want that to be public. And that's about it. So now let's create the repository. See, we now have a new repository here. And with all the files that we found in the template. So the first thing I'm going to do is to upload my files. And let's see if we can do that. So I think we should be able to just drag and drop these into this region. So let's see. It's around 400 megabytes of data. So let's see how that goes. Does that go at all? Okay. Okay, that was too much. So let's try a little bit less. Let's do this. Yeah, that's too much. So how can we do that? Well, we can skip for this for now. Now we at least have some files to commit. I mean, we can always upload many files through the command line. That's no problem. But for now, we see that we have now some files here. So I'm going to now have a look down here. There's a checklist of things we can do. And what we have to do is to fill in this file that's called zenodo.json. And this is the metadata that Zenodo is going to use to create the deposition. So here we have title, description, creators, so on. And I'm just quickly going to fill that out. So then we are going to fill in here what related identifiers, and this has to point back to the GitHub repository. And the repository is just what we have up here, right? So like that. So, and then we can also have an identifier that points to the original research paper which we have over here. And the way we do that is we need the DOI for that. So let's see, that's what we have here, right? We copy that in. And it's a supplement to that identifier, and it's a publication article. Creative Commons license, and it's open, and it's a workflow. It's a Jupyter node workflow. So let's see here. We have to be a little bit careful. We have to remember to have commas and so on. The JSON format is a little bit picky. There is a way we can check this. I'll show you later. So let's just commit these changes directly to main branch. So, right. And if you want to check a bit more, we can, for example, here we can actually check if our Zenodo file is valid by using a schema file. Then I'll show you how to do that in this here. I'm also going to edit the README file. So let's do that. We can do that here. So the title, again, we steal the title from the paper. Okay. We can remove this checklist. We don't really need that any longer. You can a number of things you should probably do, but let's remove that for now. So now the README is going to show title, a layout of the files. So we should document here. We have see here we have simple model illustrates electrostatic model, and of course we're going to add more details later on. And we can remove these things. We don't need them for now. Right, so this is our README file of our repository. So how to use it. So we have an environment file that's for setting up Python packages. And in this case here, we also have some setup for using rough, which is a Python linter and formatter. So you can do some static analysis on your notebooks and Python scripts. And actually, when you push to this repository, GitHub will automatically check for these things and warn you if there's something suspicious. It's all part of the template. Right, so now we have something I think looks decent. It's of course not finished at all, but that doesn't really matter because on Zenodo you can make depositions. You can update your depositions anytime you want by simply just updating the GitHub repository. So now the GitHub repository is ready now, and what we do is we go back to Zenodo, and let's see, we go here you have to go to GitHub, and now we have to tell Zenodo to watch and look out to monitor our repository. And if we go down here, we should be able to see our new repository somewhere, I hope. So, okay, to update the list of GitHub repositories on Zenodo, you have to press the Sync Now button. And when we do that, and we can now search for our repository, we see that it appears down here. Now, the only thing we need to do is to flip this switch. And this means that whenever you make a new release on the GitHub repository, Zenodo is going to read the Zenodo JSON file and create an archive of that version. So we are going to press on here. So now it's being monitored, and we can now go back to our repository, and let's now try to make a release. And we do that over here, create a new release. So we are going to follow semantic versioning. So let's see. We can, for example, say that this is our first version, and we call that version 0.1.0. And we can say that this is the initial release. Right, so let's try to now publish this release. And we can go back here, and then we see that we have a release out here, and it's version 0.10. Let's go back to Zenodo and have a look. You can now click, let's update this. As you see, first time it was failing, and in the second round it passed. So let's have a look. You see we get a DOI here, so we can have a look at this. And we see that's the electronic notebook, it's the title, information, it included the org ID, affiliation, some descriptive text, and all the files that we have uploaded so far. Down here we have that it is, let's see, related works. So we have, it relates back to the GitHub repository and also to the original paper. We can try and see if we can, let's click that and see what happens, if it was correct. Yes, that points to the right place. So the only thing that's left to do is to go back here, and then we now have to upload the remaining files. And I'll do that through the command line because it's too many files to do here through the web interface. If you do not want to set up a GitHub repository but just want to deposit something on Zenodo, you can do it quite easily, because we can also just go in here and do a new upload from the web interface, and then we can drop the files. We can put in title, creators, so on in here, so we can do all the same information that we did in the Zenodo file on the GitHub repository. The disadvantage of this is that if you want to make updates to your original dataset, you would have to go in and do this for every time you update. So I think it's a little bit easier to have it on, to have that information directly in the Zenodo repository. Right. We've now reached the end of this video, and here's a short summary.